Good afternoon. I'm Director Jeffrey Lewis, the City of Muskegon for Police and Fire Departments. It's this time of year, it's January, the snow is falling, and like every winter, we face the same challenges. We face snow, we face ice, we face winds that create whiteout conditions. We have a lot of unsafe conditions that occur on our city streets, our roadways, and especially our highways in and around the Muskegon area. One thing I want to talk to you about that we notice is about winter safety driving tips. What's important there is when you get in your vehicle, the weather can change in Muskegon and in Michigan on a moment's notice. And with this large lake right here, as you know, it provides lake effect snow, which can change road conditions, highway conditions, and safe streets conditions in a matter of minutes. I'm going to give you some winter safety tips that you can follow that across the board will help you and other drivers understand what to do during these winter months. And I know that even though we've all suffered through a lot of winters, we have to revisit these tips each year because we tend to forget all through the spring, the summer and fall, all that nice weather we had, we forget. The most important part I tell people is when you come out to a snowy vehicle, this is hard, but you have to clean your front, side, rear windows, and especially your lights. Every vehicle should be equipped with some kind of an ice scraper and some kind of a broom to make sure your vehicle would emulate what it looks like in the summertime. Except we know there'll be a little snow on the trunk and some other areas. When you get in your vehicle and you take off, you will notice when you walked out the condition of those steps, the sidewalk, and maybe even the parking lot you're standing. The roadways will emulate that. So if you feel it's slippery to your touch or your feet, your car is going to feel the same thing. It's slippery out there. Do this. You know your driving ability. Drive to your ability. Drive to the conditions that you see below you on the surface and around you. Speed is everything. Drive slowly. Give yourself a distance between yourself, fixed objects such as curbs, so on and so forth, or the vehicle in front or behind you. Be a good driver. Be a courteous driver. Sometimes people want to become first, or they jockey for position. When it's snowy and it's icy, but matter of fact, all the time, be courteous. Yield to a more aggressive driver. A lot of times, you driving defensive like that will avoid an accident because you took action and you stepped back when other people aren't. Something that I see is sometimes in really rigid snow conditions or whiteout situations, people drive with their emergency flashers on. I warn against that because as a driver myself and a public safety person, as I'm driving and the conditions are poor and my view has been diminished by the snow and the winds, I believe that you're stopped with those emergency flashers on, but yet you're moving. That can be confusing for many drivers around you. The flashing has just an effect on other drivers because they don't know what you're doing. Your tail lights and your brake lights tell people a lot. We don't need the additional flashers going. If you're going to change directions because you want to turn left, you want to turn right, use your signals. Look around and make sure you've given the people behind you and even oncoming people enough time to react to what you're going to do. But it all goes back to being a courteous driver. We've talked about assessing the sidewalk and steps because that tells you the roadway. We've talked about getting your car prepared to go on the road. We've talked about your driving behavior to get you there. If you follow these safe driving tips, there's a really good chance you're going to get where you're going safely, which means other people around you will be safe too. If you go on the website, there's many websites out there that give you additional information. AAA is something I use because it's a universal exchange. It talks about winter driving tips and it gets a lot more in depth than we've talked about today. But you're responsible. Driving is a privilege. Your license is a privilege. You as the operator of that 4,000-pound machine have to make sure that you understand the winter driving tips, you understand your abilities and skills to operate that vehicle, and refreshing yourself each year by hearing the things I've said, and then actually doing more in depth by going on the website for AAA and looking at their winter driving tips will help you kind of re-up yourself, and you'll practice these safe driving tips, and you won't wind up in the ditch. You won't wind up being in an accident, and in the end, you'll be safe and uninjured. Thank you.